Peace, SalimTheDjedi here. Welcome to my channel. This is my very first video. I have another channel, it's Zuzu Natural. I do like health and wellness and natural beauty, crystals. Those are the type of things I talk about over there. But I wanted to talk about entheogens, and I thought, I'm not going to do that over there. I'm going to do that over here. So welcome to my channel, SalimTheDjedi. How you doing? I want to talk about my first mushroom trip. That's what I want to talk about. I started thinking about all my trips, and I was like, I really don't share these things. First of all, because if someone does not do entheogens, they've never tripped on any sort of entheogen, they just think you're crazy, which is okay. I'm totally okay with that. I know who I am, and so I'm all right with whatever you think of me. It's all good. But I wanted to share because I know that a lot of people also do entheogens, and then there's not a lot of us in this space, so people who look like me in this space, and so I wanted my voice to be heard just in case you look like me and you're like, you know what, I've always wanted to do that, or I've thought about doing that, or I do that too and I don't have anyone to talk to it about. So let's do that. We're gonna vibe here. It's gonna be like a entheogen family situation, and we're just gonna share. And so the first video, this video is gonna be about my very first trip. My very first mushroom trip. 3 grams. Okay? You want to hear it? All right, we're gonna do this. Okay, I'm gonna take you on a little journey. Okay, so my very first trip was 2017. 2017. Okay, so my partner at the time had a few trips. He had maybe 2 or 3 trips, and he told me that the mushroom told him that he needed to bring me on a trip, right? And all of us know, whoever has tripped before, that the mushroom will let you know who you need to bring in to the entheogenic cycle knot world. Like, right? The mushroom will let you know. And it lets you know in its own different way. But it let him know that I needed to do this. And I was just like, okay. All right, right. Because at that time I hadn't done any mushrooms. Matter of fact, I hadn't done any entheogens at all. And so, when you haven't done any entheogens, a lot of times when people are telling their stories, they sound kind of crazy. And it's not that I thought he was crazy at all. It just sounds so foreign to you that you're like, okay, sure. The mushroom told you that I needed to. Oh, all right. No, you guys were talking about me, right? So you're just like, oh, okay. So he told me this, and I just kind of like put it in the back of my mind. Not that I was against doing it, but it's just like it wasn't something that was at the forefront where I was like, yeah, next time we're gonna trip. Like I wasn't thinking about that. And it's probably mainly because of all of the scary things you hear about tripping that are just so totally far-fetched, not true, and the unknown. The unknown is kind of, you don't know. So if you don't know, you're kind of like, I'm not sure. So it was a full moon. I remember it was November 2017. That weekend was a full moon. I believe it was like a Friday or Saturday. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was the weekend. And we were just kind of chilling. And he's like, "You want to do a mushroom trip?" And I'm like, "Okay." Like, sure, why not? I'm really big on full moon rituals and full moon activities, right? So at full moon ceremonies. So I was just like, had he asked me and it was not the full moon, maybe I would have said no. But because it was, I was like, yeah, let's do that. That would be awesome for the full moon. So that was that. So I had 3 grams. I want to say that he had 5. I think he had the heroic dose, about 5 grams. And at the time, I didn't really know about tripping with, well, I didn't know anything. Okay. So I'm not even going to say I didn't know anything about tripping at all. This is a magic mushroom, and some wild stuff might happen when you take it. That was the extent of my knowledge. And so we took the mushrooms, right? So we took the mushrooms, 3 grams, and I was just like, okay, all right. And 15, 20 minutes. Matter of fact, let me back up. Let me set the stage for you. Okay. So we're outside in the backyard, and it's November, so it's quite chilly out. It's the desert, so you get that desert cold, but we have the fire pit going, right? So the fire pit is going. It's really nice and warm. We're not cold at all because we're right in front of the fire and the flames. It's a really beautiful night. It's super dark out, and you can see the stars really clearly and the moon very clearly. It's just like a beautiful, gorgeous night. We couldn't have picked a better night. So we're outside. I take my 3 grams. He takes his 5 grams. Maybe it's about 15 minutes later, and I'm just enjoying the fire. I'm a real nature girl, so I'm enjoying the fire. I'm enjoying the stars and the moon, like, because I'm just the type of person that's like, ooh, from the moon and the stars and fire and everything anyway. I don't have to be on entheogens. Like, it's just exciting stuff to me all the time. So I'm just looking up, and I'm like, I don't really feel anything, but it's gorgeous out here, so it's okay. And so here's me, right? I don't think this is working. Right? I don't think this is working. Maybe it just doesn't affect me. Have we all said that before? Oh, wait for it. Oops, wait for it, right? So I'm like, I don't think this is affecting me at all. I feel the same. I don't think it's working. It's not working. It's not going to work. Like, my body is just like not having it, right? So the mushroom must have heard me. Like, oh, it's not working. Oh, it's going to work. You took me, okay? Remember, you invited me into your system, right? So about 30 minutes in, I start seeing the fire and the flames dancing, right? The spirit of the fire is like getting it, and the fire is just like, it's doing this little fire dance, and it's like coming out, and I'm just like, and I'm like looking at my partner like, do you see that? Like, I'm such a little kid when it comes, which I think is a beautiful thing to come with, like that wonderment and that excitement of everything. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, and the fire's dancing and it's getting it. And it's just like the fire is blazing, and you could really see the spirit of the fire. And I'm just like, whoa, that's so beautiful. Whoa. And I kind of gaze up, and I see the sky, and I see the stars, and the stars, like, you could see each of the constellations actually forming. It's not just like a random star in the sky. Like, you see Orion, you see Orion's belt and his sword, right? You see it. You see Sirius A, like, just getting it. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. The moon was like the biggest, brightest full moon I've ever seen, ever. And I'm just like, whoa. And so, I started seeing like the aura, the energy around each, like the moon and the stars and the fire. Like, I could see its energy all around, its auric field all around. And then I started seeing like the purples and the indigos and the blues that were like all around it. And I'm just like, this is awesome. This is awesome. So that was the beginning of the trip, right? After about 30 minutes, when I said, this isn't working. And then about 10 minutes later, bam, it's beautiful. All of a sudden, I started getting so cold. I mean, freezing cold. I'm talking about teeth chattering, shivering. Oh my gosh, it's so cold out here. Cold. And so I was like, I gotta go inside. Like, it was so beautiful, and I wanted to stay outside, but I was like, it's too cold. I gotta go inside. And I'm pretty sure I was like wrapped up and bundled up because it was November. So I'm quite sure I had like some sort of sweater or hoodie or coat or something on, even though when that fire was blazing, it wasn't cold at all. But very often people will have that really cold sensation come over them at the beginning of the trip, and I had that. Like, I mean, not just cold, teeth chattering, shivering cold. So I'm like, I'm going in, right? So we go in, and we're at the back door, right? We come in from the backyard, go to the back door, and we're going all the way to the front of the house to the bedroom. And it's not that far, but like, this was the longest journey through the hallway ever, because the hallway was bending and breathing and moving. And the hallway was just had me going on this trippy all down the hallway. And I'm like holding onto the wall. Like, okay, all right, I can do this. I'm pausing. I'm like, take it. Like, the floor was warping and doing all sorts of things. And it's like I was like on this slow motion roller coaster down the not so long hallway, but it felt like it was endless, right? So I'm like taking my time. And I'm just like, yo, this is wild. Walking down the hallway, this is wild. So I finally get to the bedroom and I'm like, I gotta lay down. I got to lay down because like stuff is doing all sorts of, I don't know. I don't know. And like, remember, this is my very first trip. Not my second, not my third, not my fifth, right? It's not now, 2021. This is 2017. Okay. So I lay down and I'm feeling a little nauseous at this point, and I'm just like, I don't feel too good. I'm just gonna lay down. I don't like this anymore. Like I loved it at first. It was so I went from this is beautiful to I don't like this. I don't feel too good. Right. So I lay down and my partner at the time is just like, it's okay. It'll pass. You'll be all right. You're fine. You're fine. And it was really nice to have him there as a person that had tripped several times and a lot more experience because you're going through this range of things, these sensations and these feelings and experiences that you haven't experienced uh, at least in this lifetime. And so it's also foreign to you. And you don't know whether it's normal, whether it's not normal. And I'm supposed to feel like this? Like, what's going on? And so he's like, no, that's normal. You're fine. And then, right, little did I know, I had not really, I was entering the trip, but I didn't take off yet, right? And so if you've tripped, you know that that takeoff, right? And so at the beginning, right, it's always a little and then you come back and then you come back, right? It's like you're fighting it, like you're not ready to go yet, but the mushroom is like, listen, you took me, we're going. Like don't fight it, just let it go because you are going. You're going. And so that's what I was doing. I was kind of like going down the rabbit hole and coming back and go down and coming back. And so he's like, it's okay. You're all right. And so like as I would be going down the rabbit hole, I just would be like, oh my gosh, what is going on? I was like literally going through like black holes, and then I would see like purples and blues, and then I'd be back in the bedroom and I'd just be looking at him like, and he's like, you're okay. You're fine. And I'm like, you sure? Are you sure? And he's like, nah, you're good. You're good. So to me, that was like the hardest part of the trip was the entering into the trip, just because I didn't mean to fight it. But even still now when I trip, like I'm a lot better as far as zooming into like what I like to say, like if you are a Star Trek fan, when they're like and they go warp speed, that's what it's like. It's like you're floating along and then and you just go and you like woo woo. So like I'm a lot better now, but like I fought it like tooth and nail, fought it so hard. So finally, like we're in the trip, right? We've landed in the trip. I'm no longer warp speeding and coming out and warp speeding and coming out. We've landed in the trip. So we're finally in the trip. And now I'm able to get up, walk around. I feel relatively normal, right? Well, I feel relatively normal for inside of a trip. I still feel like I'm in a trip, obviously. Things are very trippy as far as colors, like lots of blues and purples and kind of electric blues and purples. And so I'm feeling like, okay, I'm safe. That's what I'm feeling like now. I made it into the trip. I'm no longer nauseous. I don't feel sick anymore. I feel pretty good, right? So I would love to tell you that I had like this profound insight in this profound journey. But my partner is a joker, right? Comedian. So he's cracking jokes, and I'm laughing, and I cannot stop laughing. When I tell you I laughed for 8 hours straight, I laughed for 8 hours straight. You guys, I laughed for 8 hours straight. The end. That is the trip. That is the trip. I laughed for 8 hours. Now, of course, there were moments in between of other things, but I literally laughed, not figuratively speaking. I'm not exaggerating. I laughed for 8 hours and could just not stop. Everything. I'm already goofy, so a lot of things are funny to me, and I do a lot of laughing on the inside. Like things that are not even funny to other people. It's just funny to me. I find a lot of humor in life and things, right? I don't take myself or others too seriously, but in this trip, I just kept laughing. And when I say I'm laughing, I don't mean like I'm talking about Steve Urkel. I'm probably dating myself, right, with Steve Urkel, but Steve Urkel, I'm talking about, I mean, I was snorting. I was snorting while I was laughing. And it's funny because I'm hearing myself laugh and snort, but it's like I'm outside of myself, kind of like remote viewing, watching myself, like, what are you doing? Stop. But I couldn't. I couldn't stop. And especially when I would snort, I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? But I just kept laughing and snorting, and I couldn't really speak. Like there wasn't a nice connection between the brain, the mind, and my mouth. It wasn't coming through. So I would blurt things out. And apparently, two of the things that I loved to blurt out over and over again, this was like all I could get out, was Wu Tang is for the children. Yes, that's what I blurted out. Wu Tang is for the children. Oh my gosh, are you serious? Who says that? I don't even say that in my life. I've never told anybody Wu Tang was for the children. Now, ODB told us that, but I personally never said that. But I did in this trip, and I said it a lot. Like I was serious that Wu Tang is for the children. And then my partner was like on this rant, and I just kept saying, "Tell him why you mad, son. Tell him why you mad." I just kept saying that. That's all I could get out, right? So like, I'm coming to you as SalimTheDjedi, but listen, the Force. I don't know if the Force was with me on that first trip, right? I don't know, but it was a lot of fun, but and as much as I say that it wasn't profound, it really was when you think about it, because I laughed for 8 hours. We probably don't even laugh for 8 hours in a year, right? And laughter is good for the soul, for the spirit. It's freeing, it's liberating, it helps release joy. And I did that for 8 hours. So when I woke up the next day, I felt so good. Like I had just laughed away so much, whatever you want to say, pain and trauma. So it was a very healing experience. It's just that at the time I really didn't see it that way. I was just like, I laughed for 8 hours. That's what the end. 3 gram trip, laugh for 8 hours, the end. One sentence. That's what I did. But it's not really what I did. So I did go to the bathroom at one point. Of course, you're always going to end up in the bathroom on a trip. It's one of my favorite places to trip. I get in that bathroom and I just zone out. I'll be in the bathroom for hours, just hours upon hours. So I had to go to the bathroom. It took me like 30 minutes, it felt like, to get to the bathroom, which was right outside the door. Literally walk out the door and turn, there's the bathroom. But I was just like, I can't get there. It was like it was moving. The bathroom was moving. Like I'm getting closer, it's moving further away. So I finally get in there. It takes me about 2 hours to turn the light on. I don't know where the light is. Is there a light in here? Do I even need the light? I don't know. So it takes me about 2 hours to do that. And I go to the bathroom, and then I looked in the mirror, and I had a really wonderful experience there. For everyone who's tripped, those mirror experiences are really wonderful. I kind of did a lot of shifting into different people from what I would just imagine are like past life me's, right? And so I was shifting into old people, young people, males, females, and I was just like my face would just morph and shift, and I was like mesmerized by that. I was just like, wow, is that you? Wow, whoa, okay, you about 99 right there. Okay, all right. So I was doing that, and I remember my partner like, "Are you okay in there?" And I'm like, I'm good. Yeah, I'm just in here being one with myself. So then I came back out, and that was going towards the end of the trip. So I remember like coming out of the trip, the colors were just really electric and vibrant. I remember his third eye was like so huge and like blinking at me. It's just like blink, 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 and it had like electric blues and purples, and I was just like, oh, I see your third eye. Like I'm already goofy. So like if you could just imagine me on this trip, it was goofy times 10. Okay, it was goofy times 10. But it was a really beautiful experience. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything. Of course, afterwards. So what I will say as far as those downloads that you get, it was so much being downloaded that it was hard for me to understand anything. It was just like so much being jammed in that after, as I was coming out the trip, and even as I was laying there and falling asleep, and then when I woke up the next morning, it was so much. I don't know what was going on. Like, it was hard for me to kind of put the pieces together. And even so, I don't even remember like a lot of the things of a trip. Like, now I can remember what I said and what you said and what realm I was in, what dimension, what did it look like, who did I see. I can remember all of that. But at that particular time, that wasn't something that I even knew to look for. And so, like, what I just told you is what I remember. Like, and but that part is very vivid, which is good. And that's my first trip. My first trip was a 3 gram trip, and that was that. So I just wanted to share that, guys, share that with you guys. Yeah, that's it. I will share my second trip with you guys next, which was a 5 gram trip, the heroic dose. Not as funny, not as funny, but equally as wonderful as all trips are. And so if you want to hear that, stay tuned. Not sure when I'm going to put that out, but it'll come at some point, right? So like, comment, share, subscribe, drop your entheogen stories, your trip stories. What was your first trip? How many grams did you do? Was it wild? Was it crazy? Do you remember it? Let me know in the comments. Let's start a little dialogue, right? So Salim the Jedi, peace, peace.